Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. Bruce Norris's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, Clybourne Park, has come to Broadway's Walter Kerr Theater with the show's original director, Pam McKinnon, and original cast intact. And I'm here to celebrate with them on opening night.
Oh, come on, you heard what she said. She as much as claimed there's some kind of secret conspiracy.
Oh, it's not a secret.
There, thank you.
Don't be purposefully naive. This has been under discussion for at least 4 decades now at the highest institutional levels.
Prove that.
Don't act like
And now what? We're
true.
the evil invaders
Oh,
who are
she never said
appropriating
that.
your ancestral homeland.
This, I am sorry. This is the most asinine. Half of my friends are black.
What?
As is true of most normal people.
Name one.
Normal people tend to have many friends of a
can't
diverse
name
and wide range.
one.
Candace.
Good. Name another.
I don't have to stand
No,
here
no, you said half.
compiling a list.
You specifically said
Teresa.
She works in your office. She's not your friend.
She was at the baby shower, Steve. I hope she's not my enemy.
Well, this is all fascinating.
Name another.
And while I'd love to sit here and review all of American history, maybe we should concentrate on the plans for your property,
Yes,
which has
the
been the
history
initial
of
topic
America is the
conversation.
history of private property.
That may be,
Read de Tocqueville.
though I rather doubt your grandparents were sold as private property.
Take me back to the beginning of how you got involved and why you wanted to produce it.
Well, my first experience with Clybourne Park was reading it, and I was so enthralled and so connected and so hysterical, laughing on the page, and I just knew we had to be a part of it. So first it was in our theater, and then we were producing it, and it's been a remarkable experience to be a part of it.
Talk about this great ensemble cast.
It is the most amazing ensemble of actors who have been together for 2 years now, and we don't usually get to see a company of actors who have been playing their parts for so long together. And it is a unique experience for theatergoers to see what these artists can do together over time.
This is such an important play. Bruce has already run the Pulitzer Prize in 2011 and the Olivier Award. Yes. Talk about, as a producer, sitting in the audience and listening to the audience's reaction to the show.
This play is all about the audience. There is, from the very first lines, the text creates a community out of the audience. And the play is very much about community and what happens when community works and what happens when community breaks down. But to be in that theater is to be a part of something, to listen together, to laugh together, to say, oh my God, he just said that together. It's a unique theatrical experience.
Take me back to this whole journey of where it began for you and what it all means to you.
I mean, I guess I'd have to go as far back as like 17 years when I first met Bruce. I was living in Midtown, very new to New York. He was in a Broadway play. He was acting. He was much more an actor then. A friend of mine was understudying in that play, and inevitably around 10:30 I would get the call, "We're going out. We're going to a bar. You want to come?" So that's how I first met Bruce. And then my directing career started to take root. He became much more of a playwright, and about 3 years ago, he handed me this play, Clybourne Park. He was a little mortified. He said it's an early draft, but I'm hoping this will be something. And then Playwrights Horizons wanted to produce it, and I got to direct it. So that's sort of the very beginning of the journey, and then the beginning specifically of the Clybourne Park journey. And then we put on a great show at Playwrights Horizons 2 years ago, and that was satisfying. Like, that could have been it. And then about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, the taper out in Los Angeles, Michael Ritchie, said, I want to do this play. And he had just recently seen a production of Raisin in the Sun that Felicia Rashad had directed out in Los Angeles, a small company called Ebony Rep. And he was like, I want to program these 2 plays in 2 of my spaces. Clybourne Park we're going to put into the Mark Taper Forum, and then Raisin in the Sun we're going to put into our smaller Kirk Douglas Theater. That's his plan. And could we get Pam? Could we get any of the original actors? Let's see if we can do it. So that was the beginning of, like, let's reunite. And when that happened, commercial producers, started to be interested for Broadway. So here we are.
You've got your whole original cast back. What it's been like revisiting the play with them all over again?
It's great because, it was so quick at Playwrights Horizons. Putting on a new play where you don't really know what you have until closing night. And then to, sort of, like all of us have done a ton of work in these last 2 years. I think we've all gotten stronger as artists. So then to like regroup in like, sort of a play that we fundamentally loved, knew worked, and just get to add muscle to it. I mean, we finally got to have some like big important conversations because we simply had time. Like the first go round, some of it was like just pounding lines into actors' heads. That's what we had to do. And this go round, it was like, okay, we've got that covered. We know what the skeleton is, and let's just keep on putting on muscle. So it's really satisfying.
So what is it like for you as the director sitting in the house now at the Walter Kerr and watching and listening to the audience?
I mean, it was a really satisfying evening in the theater, and has been through the whole preview process and now opening night. It feels like it's the kind of play, I think, Bruce wrote, I think, a big boulevard play, and there are big laughs in it, and they're rolling laughs in it. And actually at a smaller theater, you don't necessarily get that, because an audience can be sort of shy. Like if you're one of 140, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna smile, you're gonna nod, but in a bigger house, you're gonna let loose, and that's just really satisfying.
Last night he was just sitting there at 3 in the morning, and I say to him, don't you feel sleepy? Do you want to take a Somonax or play some cards maybe? And he says, I don't see the point of it. As if there has to be some grand justification for every single thing that a person, wait, yoo-hoo!
Oh, it's all right.
Something wrong?
No.
She said she's on her way.
I can wait outside.
Francine, come in. There she is.
Sorry, I guess I'm moving a little slower than usual.
And here's Albert waiting so patiently. If only I had door-to-door service like Francine.
So I'll see you Monday then.
Albert, isn't this place just a catastrophe?
Oh, yes, it is.
I tell you, I don't know what I would do without a friend like Francine here. And on a Saturday, I mean, she is just a treasure. What on earth are we going to do up there without her?
Well, I trust y'all can sort things out.
Oh.
Congratulations to the Broadway opening of Clybourne.
Oh my gosh, yay!
How do you feel?
I was saying that it feels like the audience was giving me a big hug. 1,000 people hugging me at once. That's what it felt like tonight. It was great.
What has this journey been like for you with working on this play?
It's been a challenge and a great lesson, because I found that it seems to me that the universe, if it has something in order, that it will happen. And then just have a little faith that it will work out. And I think we've all learned a bit of faith doing this show. Yeah.
Because you had a beautiful run at Playwrights, but now this is like the icing on top of the cake, Broadway.
Yes, we felt when we did the show the first time, we had such a good time, and we thought to ourselves, if that's it, that's okay, because it was a rocking good time the first time. And then when Pam called us back for LA, I said, yes, I'll do it. I didn't even, I had no idea about the Broadway run. That wasn't even in conversation, but the chance to do the play again was exciting for me. So the Broadway is definitely the icing on the cake.
Talk about the roles that you play.
I play two characters, Francine and Lena. In the first act, I play the maid of the people who own the 406 Clybourne Street that they are selling to the younger family from The Raisin in the Sun. And then in the second act, I play the great niece of one of the people of the younger family that lived in that very house. Yes.
So what do you think is the importance of the play and what audiences will take away?
You know, what's marvelous about it is that the play kind of teaches us as we're going along. It teaches, the audience is teaching me things about how they feel about the world. They're teaching each other, because especially when there's different cultures, different ages, different races, they teach each other, because, you know, what one person will laugh at, the other person will, you know, so, you see people and you notice that people are like, oh, they're laughing at this, or they're not laughing at that, so it's a really good lesson for us all. I think we all learn about how we feel about race in America and how we deal with it and how we can laugh at each other or be so ashamed of ourselves. It's great.
What has the whole journey been like for you with working on the play?
Kind of surreal in that, like, the way that it started, and you know, we played at Playwrights and we extended, but we closed and it went away, and it went off to live this very glamorous life overseas, and you know, in the regions, and then got an email one day that said, hey, we want to do it again, like get the band back together. And I'm like, well, I don't have anything to do, sure. And so, you know, it just, I think when we left it the first time, I know at least some of us felt like it wasn't over. And now that we're here, it's kind of like, yep, that was what that was. That we were waiting for this shoe to drop, and whether we knew it or not. Yeah.
And talk about the roles that you play and what you love about the words itself and the play.
Well, it really is two different plays, which is the amazing part about it. In the first act, I play a very affable Presbyterian minister, Episcopalian, and the second act, I play a real estate attorney. And I those are two. Those are two broadly different ideas, but like they're not in a way, because in some way, like, there's law and there's scripture, and like these people live in worlds that are dictated by rules, very clear rules, and it's a matter how the two characters go about dealing with them. And there's a wonderfully uncomfortable empathy that I feel with Jim in the first act, where it's something that is so well intentioned that just goes so wrong. And in the second act, it's a guy coming in well intended, thinking everybody understands what we're doing, and it just goes so wrong. And the words really help you sink into that. And that's the magical thing that Bruce has done, is he's given us everything we need to inhabit these characters to their fullest extent.
The Broadway opening of Clybourne, how does it feel?
It's amazing. I can't believe we got here. It's like the little engine that could, right? We just kept chugging along, and here we are.
Tell me what this whole journey's been like for you with working on this play and with this company.
Oh, it's been so exceptional. I mean, really a dream. It's such a fantastic play, and it's such a wonderful group of people, and to get to work with the same people for such a long period of time. I mean, I truly feel like we've become a little family. So it's been really special, really special.
Talk about the roles that you play.
I play Betsy Lindner in Act 1. I am pregnant in both acts. In Act 2, I play Lindsay. In Act 1, Betsy is deaf. And Lindsay is difficult. I'm not judging her. I love her very much, but she is a demanding woman.
Let's talk about what you love about Bruce's play and his words.
I think Bruce has done an amazing thing with this play in that he is talking about something very profound and very challenging, something that is very difficult to talk about, and he's doing it with humor. And I think the result of that is that because people are laughing, they really can hear better. They are more open. They're literally made open by their laughter, so that they can sort of hear the bigger issues in the play.
For all we know, this family could be perfectly lovely.
Well, that's hardly the point, is it?
Maybe it's a point to consider.
Bev, I'm not here to solve society's problems. I'm simply telling you what will happen, and it will happen as follows. First, one family will leave, then another, then another. And each time they do, the values of these properties will decline. And once that process begins, once you break that egg, Bev, all the king's horses, etc. And some of us, you see, those who don't have the opportunity to simply pick up and move at the drop of a hat, well, those folks are left holding the bag. And it's a fairly worthless bag at that point.
I don't like the tone this is taking.
Okay, let's imagine if the tables were turned, huh? Suppose a number of white families started marching into their community. Actually, that might be to your advantage.
Talk about the roles that you play.
Yeah. Well, in the first act, I play Carl Lindner, who's the crossover from Raised in the Sun. He's the white character in Raised in the Sun, and he doesn't want this black family to move into this white neighborhood. And he's controversial for the audience because he really represents someone who's into his community, but in retrospect, he's very racist and xenophobic. And so it's provocative. I mean, I think Bruce Norris, the writer, is incredibly provocative, and he's willing to put people on stage that shock us and surprise us and make us question things. So in the second act, I play someone who lives in the house in 2009, who's about to move into the house and change the house. It's a black neighborhood now, and it's a white family that's moving in. And he, again, is not afraid to bring up, the topic of racism and I feel like Bruce, has characters say something that, you know, you sort of hope that maybe they'll say, and then they say it, and then they say the extra thing that they're like, people in the audience are like, shut up, don't say that, you know. I'm glad you said the one thing, but don't say the second thing. But I think Bruce points out people's hypocrisy. If you're willing to say one thing, then why not say both things? So it's provocative. It makes the audience gasp and, you know, laugh and hold their breath. And a lot of times I'm sort of at the center of that because I'm the person who dares to sort of say the thing that's controversial. Yeah.
And working with the original cast all over again, what that's been like.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a dream scenario because a lot of times, you know, people get replaced or, you know, they try to bring in stars or this is a scenario where we had this incredible ensemble 2 years ago at Playwrights Horizons, and we've all moved through this experience together. And so, you know, it's like an orchestra or an ensemble that plays well together. We really know each other's rhythms. We know the play intimately well, and we can roll with the audience in a way that, you know, you don't get to see on Broadway a lot because usually it's 4 or 5 weeks, kind of a tight rehearsal, and you try to get this play up. But this is deeply within us, and you know, it's such a strong ensemble, and it's just a pleasure to be with everybody and to be doing this play, and to have it be on Broadway is just a real dream come true.
I was going to ask you what it's like being on Broadway.
Yeah, I think the play works beautifully on Broadway because I think it's a big play, and I think, you know, we did it at Playwrights in a 200-seat house, and I think some of the humor makes people feel uncomfortable. So if 10% of the audience feels uncomfortable but they want to laugh at Playwrights, that's only 20 people. But on Broadway, it's 100 people, and so everybody has a voice. And, you know, it's just a big proscenium play with big emotions and big moments, and so it really works well in a Broadway house, and the response is just crazy.
Take me on your journey with this show, what it all means to being a part of this show.
I had the good fortune of being in the first reading of it, and I've been on it ever since, and it's just been extraordinary. It's developed more and more each time we've done it. I think there's been a wealth of knowledge that's been gained from the numerous productions of it beforehand, so it's all been extraordinary, and it's an incredible group of people to work with, so I consider myself very lucky.
Talk about the roles that you play.
Oh, I play Kevin and Albert. He's one of the quiet ones in the play, but when he does say something, he tends to drop things here and there that people remember, and I love that about him. He plays this lovely woman's husband in the first act, or both acts actually, 1959 and 2009, completely different times, but in some ways similar sentiments. So it's a wonderful stretch for us to be able to portray all of that in one fantastic evening. So.
Talk about what Bruce's play says about racism.
Well, Bruce, I think his play says a lot more about people needing to dialogue and people's not communicating and not always listening to one another. I mean, the themes of loss, the themes of separation, and you know, gentrification is more like the backdrop to all of that. But I think the play is actually more about separation and fear, and sometimes what we don't say about the other. You know, so and that's what's extraordinary about it is that yes, race is there, but so is, you know, war. So is losing someone. So is, you know, all of these things that are very, very human and very difficult to express sometimes.
What's been the best part of the experience for you with working on this play?
Just the ensemble. This is an extraordinary play, and it's an extraordinarily difficult play to do rhythmically. And I think the way we're able to tune in to one another and know each other's rhythms and enjoy playing off of one another, it's different every time we do it, and that's what's extraordinary about it.
There was this great article 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you saw this, about the history of the changing ethnic
distribution.
Of the
I should
neighborhood.
read that.
And how in the 70s and 80s, how that was followed by a period of rapid
decline.
No,
Not trouble. She didn't mean.
There was trouble.
Well, economic trouble.
Drugs are trouble.
That's what I'm saying.
Violence is trouble.
Exactly.
And the violence as an outgrowth of the criminalization of those drugs.
Because you know the two of us was both crackheads. I'm just kidding.
Talk about the roles that you play.
In the first act, 1959, I play Bev, who's sort of a happy homemaker, at least on the surface, and very quickly you realize there's a lot more going on. And then in 2009, I play Kathy, a real estate lawyer who pretty much what you see is what you get. There's not a lot under the surface there.
It's like two separate plays, isn't it?
It's so much fun.
Just talk about Bruce's words, what you love about the play.
The language is so specific, and it's truly an ensemble piece, and yet everyone has such great, unique parts. I think everyone gets to stand out and shine in their own fashion, but it's an ensemble piece, and I think a big part of that is the way the language sort of flows. Like Damon, who's a conductor, talks about how it's kind of like music. And we hit certain rhythms, and there are certain emotional notes to hit, but a lot of it is timing and the back and forth between all of us. And that is one of the funnest things about this play, especially in Act 2, when it really gets going and everyone's just...
Let's talk about the audience's reaction, because Playwrights was very small. Talk about what the Broadway audience's reaction to the show has been. From your standpoint of listening to them on stage.
Yeah, it's very different every night, but generally speaking, the play tends to get a pretty vocal, pretty visceral reaction, and that's a really fun thing to have as actors on stage, because it's kind of like having another character in the play to respond to and feed off of, and it always makes you hear the play in a new way. Every night we have some laughs that are consistent, of course, but then there's always like a new or what.
Talk about the journey for you with working on this play.
Okay, well, it was a Playwrights Horizons 2 years ago, and we knew then that it was a lovely play, but it felt like it was a quick rehearsal period, and we felt like we got a great shot at sort of at doing something fast and beautiful. But the last 2 months at LA, and now in the weeks we've had in previous year, we've really found, I think, a deeper show. And so it's been, first of all, we went away, we didn't know we'd be doing it. So it was like a Christmas present to know we'd get to do it again. And then we got to really find things we didn't find before. And it's been so satisfying to know these people. We knew them before, and now we know them even better. It's really wonderful.
It's so rare that a whole original cast comes back to work on something again.
It is so rare. And I think we weren't sure we'd have us all. And then when we did it, again, it felt like this, it almost felt like it was foreordained, once we were all together. And now it seems like it would have been impossible if it had been any other group of people. To us, it feels that way,
Talk about the roles that you play.
In this play, I play Russ in the first act, and I play Dan in the second act. And Russ is a guy with a lot of issues that he is trying not to reveal. And Dan is a guy who is open, a wide open guy. Russ has to face, moving past a personal trauma, and he has to just find out what he thinks about racism, what he feels about prejudice, things he does not care to confront. And so the first act is really about a man forced to confront something he doesn't want to confront, and finding a voice in a way, and also finding sorrow. And the second guy is a guy who's found himself a long time ago, and he's just orbiting around people who are still unrealized,
It's like two plays, isn't it?
It is two plays. It is 50 years apart, same house, two different generations, two separated by really two generations. So new history, but some of the same themes,
Best part of the experience, Frank, has been what for you?
Best part has been, it's been being with these people and with these characters. I mean, with the role of Russ in particular, playing somebody who does not want to talk but ends up talking the way he does, ends up finding anger, being articulate against his will. That stuff is enormously satisfying. But I would say this company has been the most satisfying part.
Look, humans are territorial, okay?
Who are you?
This is why we have wars. One group, one tribe tries to usurp some territory, and now you guys have this territory, right? And you don't like having it stolen away from you the way white people stole everything else from Black America. We get it, okay? We apologize, but what good does that do if we perpetually fall into the same predictable little euphemistic tap dance around the topic?
You know how to tap dance?
Oh, you see what he's doing?
Maybe
No,
play
I'm
up
saying
forehead.
no. I'm saying every single word we say is scrutinized for some kind of latent. Meanwhile, you guys walk around going, and we're this, and then we're that, and whatever. No, we all know why there's a double standard, but I can't even so much as repeat a fucking joke that the one black guy I know told me.
So tell the goddamn joke.
Not now.
If you feel so oppressed, either go ahead and tell it,
Do not.
or maybe you could move on.
Thank you.
Well, I want to hear it.
Oh,
I
no,
can't.
trust me, it's
interested?
offensive.
Of course, it's offensive.
To
That is
me.
the point.
Offensive
to you.
to
Wait,
me.
wait, wait. How does it offend you?
Because it's disgusting and juvenile and traffics in the worst possible type of obsolete bullshit stereotypes.
Well, now I gotta hear it.
No,